Alright, what is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back again here on PlayStation Source, and of course one of my most anticipated games of 2021 in terms of PlayStation is Returnal. Although not first party, Housemarque is looking to blend its arcade roots with a third-person modern style featuring roguelike mechanics. On the PlayStation blog this morning, they did lay out some new details about the game that add new layers to the game that make me want to play it even more than I already did. And so we are going to break down all of the new facts that we got from the blog. There's about 30 of them, and if you do want to read it for yourself, there will be a link below in the description to the blog. That way you can check it out for yourself. But without further ado, here are some new facts about Returnal. And so first up here, they are said to be mixing, quote, explosive arcade action, responsive controls, and bullet hell gameplay, and this time it's all presented in third person like we said before. However, they also promise fast frenetic gameplay as you travel through the procedurally generated world of Atropos, I think is how you say it. They do promise that the game of Returnal is said to be challenging and rewarding, that always keeps you in for, quote, one more go, which the most recent game to do that for me was Hades. So if it can do anything close to Hades, and we'll see a couple comparisons here in this info that really do call back to Hades mechanics, that I think that they really have something special here with Returnal. Hopefully it all works out. But the main character's name is Celine, and she will have many weapons at her disposal, obviously, as well as new weapons she'll find on Atropos. There is said to be a set number of base weapons in the game, but as you play, they begin to augment and change. For example, the Spit Mob Blaster starts out as a shotgun, but as you progress, you'll unlock a variety of weapon traits. Proper noun, like capitalized, you know what I'm saying? So like weapon traits are W and the T are okay. Let's move on. These weapon traits are supposed to provide gameplay modifiers to your weapons, and they are unique to each weapon and provide some elemental buffs as well. Using the Spit Mob Blaster as an example, over time it could gain things like exploding shells and the ability to generate acid pools. Although there are other weapons like the Electropylon Driver, which could extract loot from enemies or generate shields for the player as well. Weapon traits also stack, so their effects are able to be combined, which of course to me automatically sounded like Hades, where you're able to get different items and make different builds just like you will be able to in this game seemingly. And if they nail this aspect, I really think we have something good going on with Returnal. But of course, we have laid out in the past the alternate fire mode to weapons in Returnal, but even that aspect is going to be randomized as well, with a diverse pool from electrical impulses of the shock stream to the tentacles of the tendril pod. I don't even know what I just said, but it sounds cool, you know what I'm saying? So there's definitely going to be a bunch of different alternate modes that tend to be on the elemental side, but could be other things like the tentacles as well on the tendril pod. And although we didn't see those tentacles, we did see the shock stream, which is essentially the alternate mode that just sends a bunch of electricity over towards an enemy. So super cool right there as well. I think that's going to be adding a very neat way to kind of have weapons have a secondary, although not having secondaries in the game, which we will get to in a later bullet point. And of course, if you missed our other content on Returnal, I'll go over the alternate fire mode just one more time. It is achieved on the DualSense by pressing L2 halfway to fire the weapon in its normal rate of fire and its normal projectile, but then pressing L2 all the way down will give you that alternate fire mode. Of course, this is achieved by those adaptive triggers on the PlayStation 5, so really cool to see that that's how they are utilizing it, and that's how you'll be able to do alternate modes like the shock stream. The game will have 10 base weapons and over 90 different weapon traits, as well as 10 different alternate fire modes, which should provide plenty of different playstyles and builds. It doesn't sound like a ton when I'm saying it, but I think that, you know, with those weapon traits, I think those are going to have the potential to really change weapons on a base by base basis, and you couple that with the different alternate fire modes, I think we're going to have a lot of customability in Returnal. And although there is a multitude of different weapons, Celine is only able to hold one, which will certainly make the aspect of picking and choosing pretty tough in your given run. As stated before, Returnal is a roguelike where Celine gets sent moments before her ship crashes on Atropos upon death. Interestingly though, Housemarque calls it a time loop. With that being said, most abilities and items collected will all be lost upon death, but not all of them though. Returnal does have persistent progression across your playtime, with one of these aspects called the Sithonos, I think is what it's called, which is a mysterious alien device that generates a random item at the beginning of each cycle. The Sithonos is tracking your performance, and when enough progress is accumulated, you will be rewarded with a brand new item for immediate use, which will also be permanently added to the pool of available loot from that point on as well. So that's a really cool way of seemingly you'll be able to track your performance a lot with this aspect of the game, as well as get super in-depth stats. And it sounds like there is some sort of ranking system and leveling system in the game as well, with each weapon and item seemingly being unlocked through this system. So I think it's gonna be super cool to be able to, know like, okay, if I keep going and I hit this rank, I'll be able to add this weapon to the pool of loot, which is gonna be really, really interesting and could play out differently from a run-to-run basis. And I feel like this is one of those aspects that are definitely calling back to Hades, and I think that this is going to be really, really cool, because Hades had its randomness for sure, but there was a sense of progression with the darkness points being added onto your character and the way that you can kind of upgrade Zagreus as a character himself. So hopefully we have that sort of progression as well in Returnal. I think it sounds really, really cool. The items you earn and gather in a given runtime in Returnal will have a wide array of effects and change the way you play. Some items are offensive tools like the Dismantler, which is a smart bomb style explosion which annihilates all enemies around you. There's also defensive consumables as well, like the Kinetic Siphon, which restores health through melee kills, or more strategic artifacts that give Selene some unique advantages under certain conditions. And they don't go into too much detail about that, but I'm sure we'll hear more about that when the game is coming close to launch. And yes guys, you heard me right, oh my god, there is a sword in Returnal. Let's go baby, let's go, give me that katana, give it over here boy, give me that melee, let's get it. Alright, okay, of course the sword is not the main star of Returnal, but there are going to be a ton of loot galore in Returnal. However, there will be items that they will give you the ability to pick up and use that you might not want to pick up depending on the current run you're in, and these are called parasites. Parasites are the ultimate risk and reward aspect in Returnal. A given parasite can have a very big positive along with a detrimental negative as well. For example, a parasite could regenerate your health but leave acid pools upon dead enemies, which I guess this means that, like we said before, there are some different weapon traits that allow you to leave acid pools and maybe shoot acid pools as well. So maybe those don't hurt you and these do, or maybe all of the acid pools hurt you as well. So you might have to look out for acid pools that you lay down or that get laid down by dead enemies via a parasite. There are also ways to make parasites more beneficial to you, like carrying an artifact that can increase your max health for every parasite you've attached. So it looks like there could be artifacts that really could benefit you in terms of, hey, stack on a bunch of parasites, there's gonna be a lot of negatives you'll be dealing with, but you will be getting more health for every parasite you choose to put on yourself. So it looks like there's gonna be a lot of ways to really manipulate that system as well to your advantage. The game has many risk and reward factors that can alter gameplay from run to run. However, you could end up with a cursed container that can be holding valuable loot, but opening it might trigger a random suit malfunction, which for example can damage Selene every time she uses a door and chest opening keys, and can only be repaired by collecting a large number of obolites. That is a pretty weird way to kind of use a suit malfunction and kind of have that in real gameplay. Like, you'll be able to use doors and chests, but opening them might cause you to get damage if your suit's malfunctioned. That's kind of weird in my opinion. I don't know how I feel about that. However, obolites can be exchanged for valuable items to increase your chance of survival, but if you're on a good run, you might prefer to spend them on activating a checkpoint. Die and you'll resurrect there with your current items and abilities rather than restarting the cycle. This is super cool. Okay, I love when roguelikes do this, where you have an ultimate choice where you can continue your run if you die. It's just gonna cost a lot, and it looks like it's gonna cost a lot of obolites. Obolites might be the main currency of this game, what I'm kind of gathering on this whole point with obolites and everything. And there's definitely, of course, once again, calls back back to Hades, there was plenty of different times where you could, you know, keep your run going upon death, and that was always a very, very cool thing to do as well. So it looks like you'll be able to do that here in Returnal as well. But there seems to be a lot of what I adored about Hades in this game, where you were constantly making decisions and concessions with yourself on how you want a particular run to go. Returnal seems to have taken this up, and you couple all of that with a fast-paced, action-packed combat, and yes, that sword, let's go. It all leaves me more excited for the game. We will get our hands on Returnal on PS5 on March 19th, and Housemarque promises more info to come over the next few weeks. But how are you feeling about the game? Do you like it? Are you liking what you're hearing so far? Did this video really highlight some things that you are wanting to experience in Returnal, or is just not doing it for you? Are you not interested in this game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and make sure also while you are down there, you can check out our description where you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and our Anchor link. That way you can listen to our long form content in podcast format. Those of course being Road to PS5, Road to Miles Morales, which both of those shows have wrapped up, and more Road to series to come in the future, as well as the debut of the new and improved Save Slot podcast, which will be premiering at the end of this week. Very, very hyped for that. Down below, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, as well as stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.